Hey folks, welcome back to episode 2 of this Let's Play series for Field of Glory Empires. This is the Persia 550 to 330 BCE DLC, and we're playing with Egypt. So in the last episode we just went through our first turn, and I kind of rather laboriously went through and selected all the buildings that I wanted to build in all my different regions amongst the provinces that we have here. So Our general goal is, at the start, I think we want to try to take Sinai, so that we this is going to push us into right on the edge of Babylon, and we also want to try to take some of these provinces here. The thing is with these desert provinces is they are full of these regional impediments, so they're really difficult to settle, and they're not the best. They're not the best sort of. Well, they're just not the best provinces or regions, and they're going to be hard for us to kind of get much use out of in the early game. However, we do want to take them, and taking them is going to be relatively easy since they're generally not very well guarded. They will have kind of desert nomads guarding them, and most of them, these seem to have 4 units each. So we're going to have an army that's large enough to take kind of 4 units down. Now, once I roll the turn on, I'm going to consolidate some troops into this army, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly roll over this area just fast. It might be smarter to go this direction, and these also only have 4 units, and this would give us Sinai as a region. Now that might be better, but Sinai also has these regional impediments like depressions and venomous beasts. Was that one I just saw? Yeah, venomous beasts, all this kind of stuff. So we're not going to get the best use out of these early on. However, which one's this? Oh, this is no oases. Okay, so this one can be removed if we actually build a settled oasis in it. Actually, I kind of skipped over this, but I actually rewatched one of my videos, and I actually want to pay more attention to this. This settled oasis building here is really interesting. It provides food like most of these agricultural buildings, but and it gives you a small drop in infrastructure. Now that's not great because we don't have much in infrastructure. However, we are going to be able to put some people into it, so this is still probably a good thing to go for first. But it also gives us money, and it gives us manpower too. So manpower manpower is generated and every turn, and it represents the people who are willing to be able to be drafted into your military, and it's one of the, along with equipment, it's one of the limiting factors that you have for being able to recruit more units for your armies. So you'll see that, like, let's say that I'm not going to recruit anything this turn because actually I might just recruit a few units before we roll the turn, but let me just show you how it works. So here we've got the units here. This tells you how much money they cost to their initial, how much you pay for them initially, how much in manpower, how much metal, and how much equipment. So they're going to, some of the units like spearmen are going to take, so things like spearmen will take metal as well. Anything that's got armor. Bowmen probably won't take any metal. Oh no, they take 1 metal. Okay, so even archers will take some metal by the looks of it. These skirmishes don't. So you can add these guys to the queue. You just hit right click, and you can see that this is going to be ready next turn, but this spearman is going to be ready in 2 turns. Now the reason for this is I think it's going to be equipment is holding us back. So this guy is taking, let's just have a look, it's 30 equipment, and we've actually got 40. We've got 0 at the moment, but we're going to be gaining 47 next turn. Now we can actually build those for within 1 turn, because it's going to be using the equipment that's going to be generated. We also don't have that much metal, so you'll notice that we've got 9, and we're actually going to be losing 10 a turn. So we've got 15 and we're losing 10 a turn here. All right, okay, I see. So this actually took down 6 metal, so that we can build this one next turn. But if we want to build any more, they're going to roll over to the next turn. Just standard stuff. Mercenaries, however, are just paid for with money. and they, and we have to equip them too. So we could build some mercenaries too if we wanted. Now Egypt has a fair amount of money, although our income at the moment isn't good. We're in the negative. However, as we start generating more population and building some of these commerce buildings, I'm fairly sure, just from looking at them, that we're going to be able to sustain a fairly decent economy with the size of our the territory that we've got. Okay, so just quickly, I think what I will do is I am going to build a few more units, because this is not terribly impressive what we've got here. We've got 2 more spearmen, 2 more archers coming in 2 different groups. So 4 spearmen, 4 more archers. We could probably do. I mean, the Egyptian war chariots are okay. They're not bad. They're heavy. They're classed as heavy cavalry, but they're not going to be useful in all terrain. And that's something we can look at shortly. So I think I am just going to quickly, just before we roll the turn on, I'm just going to recruit a few more units. Now, because we've got the province, we've been able to consolidate the region into a province, and this gives you access to some special units. These are called provincial units, and if you look here, so for example, in Egyptus Major, we get access to Egyptian Skirmishes. So these are a special unit, and you can see that they're provincial. So this icon shows you they're provincial. Now these guys are desertmen, so they fight better in the desert. So although their stats aren't that great, they've got attack 2, defense 2, hits 1. Now if you compare that to a spearman, they've got attack 3, defense 2. But these are skirmishes, so they're never going to be that hot on the attack. However, in desert, they get an extra movement, extra bonus, and extra defense, and they've got a bonus to supply as well, because supply is also a thing in this game. So. And it only works in arid terrains, and that's ones that are they have a kind of sandy color. You'll see where it says active only in arid terrain. See the color of where arid is. So any of these terrains that have that color. So for example, arid steppes, arid hill, arid steppes. Any of these locations they're going to be good in. So for example, if we wanted to go and take Sinai, these skirmishes are going to be particularly useful there, because this is an arid hill location. Okay, so you'll see that certain units then are better in certain terrain. Heavy units don't do well in mountainous terrain. They get big penalties, and the same with forest. So you can't just build up the best, the inverted commas, the best units and expect to steamroller over the enemy. It doesn't work like that. There's also combat width. So very much like in the Paradox games, if you've got too many units for the size of the land that you're fighting on, you can only fight with a certain amount of them, right? And this basically means that you can have these kind of sort of 300 situations where you've got, but like in the movie 300, where you've got a small amount of men defending something like a mountain pass, and you have a very narrow combat width front. So 10 units can hold off 30. And you have to really take this into account when you're looking at how you're going to invade, because each of these provinces, if you see here, you'll see that I'm hovering over that tooltip, and you'll notice this Ardimacadalia. Sorry, I can't say these names. It's a desert province, and it's open and arid. It tells you the movement cost to get into there, which is 3. So we'll look at movement shortly, and it tells you all the surrounding provinces and what their terrain type is, and if there's a river in between the two. For example, if we look at this one here, you'll see that between here and Thebes, there is a big river crossing. Now this is also going to affect you if you're attacking, so defenders will get a huge bonus when they're defending over a large river. So, and you'll see here it also tells you the frontage. All this needs to be taken into account when you're fighting, because the game, it can seem quite brutal at first, and you'll be like, why am I losing these games? Why am I losing these battles? And it's usually because of something like you've not taken into account a river, or you're fighting into terrain that your troops aren't particularly good at fighting in. So the game is very fair, even though there is a random element to it, like with most of these games. It is very fair, and it allows a lot of room for tactical considerations. You don't always have to have overwhelming forces in this game. You know, overwhelming numbers. You can really play the game mechanics to your advantage if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying that I do, but I have read the manual at least a while back, so I've got a fair understanding of what I need to do in this game. Okay, so I think with that said, we can roll the turn on. So at the end of the turn, it just kind of you see all your men moving. So we've just consolidated those 2 armies, and you'll see now that the icon for that army's changed to a archer. I presumably because that's one of the most numerous units in that army. Okay, so it's telling us now that it's completed the AI moves. You get a hint here, and then it always gives you the culture and decadence ranking and the legacy ranking. So at the end of each turn, so you can kind of have an idea of where you're at in the game. We are actually winning, and that's just purely by the fact that we are Egypt, and we get access to all those wonderful cultural goodies. That will change if we don't keep up. So this is not an easy win for us necessarily. We also have this culture and decadence ranking table, which it's grouped into a thing called CDR. Now, this is worth taking a little bit of time to explain because it's critical to how the game plays. So, if you remember me talking about the government types, there's basically a tree of these government types, and as you're progressing up it kind of progresses in a linear fashion to some extent. So you'll move from, let's say we're at stable monarchy now. If we gain enough of these tokens, and we need 5 progress tokens, we can go up to the next level. If we and the way that we get those is by staying in the top third of this ranking table. So you'll notice here we've actually dropped 9 rankings. So we must have been in number 4, and we're now at 13. So that means the reason being is because probably we're accumulating decadence, and also at the start of the game we've been shuffling people around out of the culture production. Now, it's very, very important to stay in the top third, or at least in the top 2/3 of this table. When you're in the top third, every turn you have a chance of generating a progress token. These progress tokens are also given to you when you complete an objective, and the objectives are usually regions that you take. So your advisors will say, okay, we want to take region X. And when you take it, you get a progress token, right? And also by keeping your faction in this top third of the culture and decadence ranking, you also gain a percentage chance every turn to gain one of these progress tokens. So the longer you stay in the top here, the better. The problem is every time you take a province, you're going to be moving down because you're gaining decadence. The way that the CDR is calculated, I can't remember exactly how it's calculated. There is a formula in here which we can have a look at, but essentially culture, you want to be increasing culture whilst decreasing decadence as much as possible. And one of the best ways of increasing culture is literally to have your populations generating it by putting them into the culture slot every turn. So we need to be very, very careful if we want to be keeping out of these out of the bottom. Because look, if you notice here, in the bottom third, all of these nations that are in the bottom third, they're starting to generate aging tokens, and if you get to 5 aging tokens, then you go back, and it's not a linear tree. So if I can find the actual tree that there's a diagram that explains how it works, but basically it's not like a linear thing where you go from stable monarchy, glorious monarchy, stable empire, young empire. It doesn't quite work like that. If you drop back from certain levels, you can sometimes drop several levels back, and if you, for example, if we go from stable monarchy and we drop back, I think we go to what's called an aging monarchy, and then if you have an aging monarchy, then it can drop back even further. And usually, once you hit a certain point, there's a revolution or there's a rebellion, and you have to fight a rebellion war. So this game's dead cool, and this is one of the things that stops you from expanding too fast. You've got to, as you're expanding and gaining decadence with the expansion, you have to then stop and build up your infrastructure to be able to support the cultural development that you'll be getting, and also to increase loyalty too, because not only does decadence drop you down in this table, but it also has an effect on loyalty, I think. At any rate, loyalty has to be kept high, because if you do have a problem, and sometimes you can drop down this ranking very quick, you can go from the top tier to the bottom tier in one turn if everybody else is also moving around, and there's been a lot of action going on, and you can suddenly, and it can be difficult to get out of this, especially on the higher difficulty settings if you don't know what you're doing. If you do find yourself in the bottom third, you've got to get out of there quick. Unless you kind of plan to do that, and I'm not sure if you'd ever really want to do this necessarily. There might be some reason why you might want to. Maybe perhaps you're getting towards the end of the game and you're not moving, you're not able to move as the top level. But I can't see it. But anyway, I'm just speculating. Let's move on to the next turn. So now what we want to do, first thing I like to do is just to go through our buildings and just see if there's anything that we can build. So first let's just check these provinces. Notice how these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 regions in the province are highlighted. So if we click on another province, and we can move through the provinces this way. So we've got 3 main provinces by the looks of it at the moment. There we go. And in this province view, we can actually see all the individual regions, and we can see that they're building all these different things, right? I know that we don't have to build anything this turn because all of these are filled up. Usually they will say there's a building slot available. Right. With that in mind, I think this turn is going to be relatively quick. So let's just have a look at these notifications. So Philistei in Egypt was raided. So I clicked off that too quick. Oh, there we go. So we were raided by Edom, but the defense was easily repelled by the invaders. Okay, so the neutral factions and the the other factions, they can launch raids against you. Some of them are like pirates and bandits basically, and they can launch raids against you. And you can, if you've got military forces in these areas, sometimes you can launch kind of counter attacks without taking their provinces. That's something that's new that's been added in the game fairly recently. What else have we got? Egypt is unable to maintain its logistics. Okay, so we didn't have quite enough. I think it probably would have been metal. We didn't have enough metal or equipment in order to fully equip people. So you'll find that somewhere in one of our armies, we're probably starting to lose men. We've got a fairly large army here now. This is decent. This is a decent size. The combat power is only 45 because our general just sucks. But I'm going to actually move him. Now we need to think about where we're going to go. These lands aren't great. They don't have any population growth whatsoever, so people are probably going to be starving there right immediately. This one's not bad. That's because it's got a settled oasis, so that would be worth taking, but they're going to defend with more men. What about around here? I'm just going to have a quick look, see what they've got. This one's also got a settled oasis, so that's going to grow quicker as well. Yeah, this isn't, like I say, this is not a map painting game necessarily. I mean, you will map paint, and you look at Persia. Persia is growing quick. They've already taken these 2 provinces from Media, and that's because of some mechanic they've got where they automatically take provinces from Media, Elam, and Babylon every turn, even if they don't invade. So as you can see, oh, actually, I think this is, I think Persia has taken them. Anyway. So we want to plan where we're going to go, and I actually think these might be better. They're still not much. They're not much better provinces actually. However, once we've got one more of these, we can actually take a province. So we can actually turn it into a province, which will reduce the decadence that we're getting. And we're going to have to take quite a few provinces here in order to get this one for Ammonia, to take Ammonia. However, it might be worth it because I guess Carthage, and also look, Cyrene has also started moving this direction. They only had one last turn, so yeah, maybe I'll try and build 2 armies, and I'm going to go one this direction and one that direction. I just want to have a look at what we've got here. Well, that's extreme weather, settled oasis, and we've got trading tents. Okay, just before I go any further, there's one other thing that's interesting about trade that we need to talk about, and that's trade range and trade acumen. Let's say this, okay, so we've got a missing trade good in this province of Philistei, and Philistei is missing pottery, and it's the market that wants that, and it's the potter's workshop that produces it. We don't have a potter's workshop, and it's saying, look, can be found at distant 8 at Arbela, which is in Media. So this is 8 provinces away, which is way too far. We've only got a trade range of 3, so if there was pottery within a range of 3, we would buy it from whatever empire was selling it, whether it was ours or whether it was Palestine, Babylon here. Let's say that Babylon had pottery and it was in the same kind of range as us. Now, the person with the highest trade acumen would then get a higher chance of selling it to you. So let's say we're paying here 12 for this missing good. That's a lot of money we're paying every turn. We don't want to have these missing goods. However, we would pay less if we bought it directly from Babylon or from myself. Now, I want to buy it from myself because although I'll be losing money buying it in this province, the province that's selling it would gain more money, and overall the net profit is going to us. However, if we're buying it from Babylon because they've got more trade acumen, then we are going to lose. We are buying money and they're getting it. So you don't really, I mean, it's good to trade with people to some extent because I think it affects your diplomatic relations and you can get trade agreements and things. But actually, I think that you really want to be trading internally as much as possible for anything that you can. So trade range and trade acumen are really important. Now, trade range, you'll notice that it goes by province, right? So this is how many by regions. This is how many regions that you can move across. So let's say that we're trying to find something in this province again. We got a trade range of 3. We could go 1, 2, and then let's say it was 4, just for the sake of argument. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and get it from this island here. So the sea provinces, as you can see, are very large, and this makes trading over the sea valuable. For example, Cyrene here, if they've got a trade range of 3, so they could go 1, 2. And then, they don't think they can quite reach any of these provinces here, which is a shame. But well, it's a shame for them. But yeah, let's say that they build something to increase their trade range, like the commercial port that we had the option to build before. That increases your trade range, so they could then start trading. They could start picking up goods from all over the world, and all of these different areas sell different things, and you need these different things in order to maximize your trade output and your infrastructure. So trade's dead big in this game, and even though trade itself is automated, the actual process of trading is automated. Don't be mistaken that the trade isn't something that's hands-on. It's automated in the same way that the combat is automated, in that it rolls the dice for you, but you actually get to pick exactly what you're sending at your enemies, and and the terrain that you're fighting on and all that kind of stuff. And it's the same with the trade. You get to pick what it is that you're selling. You get to pick where the buildings that you're creating in order to create to increase your trade range and your trade acumen, and then you're putting your settlements where you need them in order to increase your trade range, and then the game does the rest. So there's no boring micromanagement with having to move traders or any of that nonsense. So yeah, dead good system. This is another reason why I think this game it stands out head and shoulders above many of the other grand strategy games of its type, because it's just, I mean, Total War's got an abstracted trade system as well, and that's very simple, but there's really not much to it. You build a building and then it gets traded, right, and you get money for it, and you make a trade agreement with people. But in this game, it's much more involved and interesting. And I honestly think that for those 4X players, or people, strategy game players who are constantly lamenting that there's too much military focus in these games and it's all about war, and this game is much more interesting with regards to the way that you build up your empire, and the trade, the resources that are available, the way that you plan what you want to expand to in order to get certain critical things. It's just really good fun. Okay, let's carry on going through these. Okay, so we've been given a new objective in Samaria. That's here. So we need to take this. We don't have to, but we will get progress points for it, so it's essential. And actually, it's smart for us to be going in the direction of Babylon anyway. So I actually think that I am going to move up this direction first. And how many turns is this going to be? It's going to be 3 turns. Let's go via Sinai, and we'll do it. We'll do this. I think what I'll do is I will start build. We're starting to get more money now. We've got decent manpower. We do need to build up some equipment buildings, because we're not gaining very much equipment, but we can start slowly building up. Okay, we can get a few that turn. Oh, there's plenty of equipment in this province, look. So we could start building up another army to start taking out these independent desert people on this side. So what I'll do is, let's get us another general. I think these 14 men should be enough to take these. Yeah, they're only 4 units each. We should steamroll of those guys. So let's move these guys to. Think about this. Yeah, I think I'll move these down. Start building another army up this way. I've kind of done this in a bit of a backward. Oops, I've done this in a bit of a backwards way, but never mind. So let's just move these guys down here. In fact, it's going to take more turns than that. We'll probably move them to here, because this is a slightly larger province, and it will have more supply for our men. Okay, we can start building a few more men. So we're going to build 2 more spearmen. Oh, these are mercenaries. That's why I can build them. Okay, we can got Egyptian skirmishers. Oh, we've got Egyptian horsemen. The skirmishes are just normal skirmishes, I think. Okay, so you get attack bonus in forested and rough. They're just skirmishes. They don't fare very well against dedicated infantry units when they're in combat. It very much the same as in Field of Glory 2 if you played that. But they are essential in this game because their missile attacks will fatigue units before the start of the battle, before the ranks close. And I'll show you how the combat works. We can build horsemen too. So what can we do? Oh, we can build these provincial Egyptian skirmishes. Now, every time we buy these, the money increases. The amount of money it costs to build them. Money cost increases with each active unit of this type by 25%. So it stops you from being able to just field exclusively this many units. But these are really good in the arid terrain. They get a big benefit, and so we're going to build a few of those units because they're going to be worthwhile. We'll build a few more skirmishes, and we can get some Egyptian horsemen. This province is good because we can afford to build several of those men. I'm going to probably build some. I want some spearmen too, so let's try and find a province where we can build some spearmen. Oh, we can't, but we can get some mercenary infantry. They cost money. They're expensive in money. Their upkeep's high, so we can't have many of them, but we don't need many to take these. And then we can always disband them when we're done with them. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and then more skirmishes, and then we're building some more we're building an army here. This should be a big enough army to start taking over Aegyptus Inferior and Ammonia. Okay. That's about it. Oh, let's just go through these. So, a new oasis has been found in Philistine that your people are settling in. Okay. Oh, right. So they've built a settled oasis. This must be one of the regional. I don't know if it's a regional decision. No, it wasn't something we did. But this is some kind of random events that sometimes happen. This must be scripted in these desert provinces. So we've actually built one of these settled oases now. This is great. We're getting food, money, manpower, and we're producing olive oil. So I mean, this is like a free building, which is fantastic. And I'm pretty sure that olive oil can be sent with the. Oh no, the market can't sell the olive oil. I think it might be the garum shop. Anyway, there's another building that we can use to sell the olive oil. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, and there's another oasis here and here. You have a total of 3 oases in your nation, providing you with 3 free unit support. Oh, right, okay. So we don't have to pay upkeep for these oases we have as well. How fantastic. Free unit support. Okay. Now I'm starting to see why Egypt might be quite powerful. If these oases allow us to support units, that's great. We can probably start powerhousing our military. Fantastic stuff. Okay, I'm just going to make. Sorry, this might look a little bit confusing. All these arrows going. So basically, it just shows you the movement. How many turns it's going to take for us to move through all these regions, and each set of units has a movement cost, has a move speed, and the army has a move speed overall. And certain provinces have different costs with regards to their movement points, very much in the same way that most of these kind of games work. So it's going to be 3 turns, and then we're going to enter into Milanes, something like this. Let's just make sure we've not got any nasty terrain. So Milanus is a desert, and we're going from plain. That should be fine. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for us to be able to take over. As soon as possible, I'm going to invade Babylon. And at the start, Babylon don't have a big army, and they're also going to be under threat from Persia. So yeah, I'm going to take this province and start taking this area from them, because if we can start taking this area, they can't get at our territories. And I mean, if we could go for Phoenicia, that would be great. Look at this. This is population 9. It's very well developed. It's got a royal treasury in there. Actually, if we capture the royal treasury, I do wonder if we'll get the money that's... Yeah, if it's disassembled, this structure will provide 900 to 1,000 money to the owner. Right, so if we can take this royal treasury before they disassemble it, we can get a big bonus of money. So that might be worth going for. In fact, they've got 12 units defending it. I mean, we could actually sail our men across and plonk them down, although there is, sea landings are quite... I think there's a penalty for that. Excuse me. Okay. Let's roll the turn on. I think we're done. So now we don't have quite so many buildings and things to build each turn, so the turns should go a little bit quicker. Okay, we've actually come right down into the middle ranking, so we need to quickly start building some culture. Persia's right at the top. Look, Argos is a big faction. So is Sparta. So is Lydia, Macedonia, and yeah, that's about it. Okay, Rome's down, dropped out as well. Although they're going up. Look, they're on the way up. It's worth keeping an eye on this because you can get an idea, kind of roughly what people are doing. Okay, there's been a raid by the looks of it. We saw an invasion by Edom. The local militia was beaten, and some pillaging occurred. So yeah, they pillaged us, which basically means we get this raided penalty now. So we get a loyalty penalty, a food penalty, infrastructure penalty, etc. Big penalty if you get raided. It's really not good. That's why I think that came from. Oh, that was from Edom. So we want to take these guys out or make some kind of pact with them. But I'm one of those guys in these games that doesn't like to form agreements with the AI unless I absolutely have to. I just think it's just not worth it generally. Okay, where are these guys going? Let's just move them. Let's move them here. Those 10 units should be able to take these two. I'll bring these guys down this direction. And I think these can move into this province, yeah, from one turn. That's fine. Okay, so we notice that our money income's less now because we've got more troops to support. What we need to do now is we need to start assigning some of our men over to culture production, and they want to be Egyptian citizens or Semitic citizens or whichever citizens we've got, not slaves. So let's put just a few in these provinces where we've got more people available. We could probably move this from. Yeah, I'd rather move it from money production into culture. Culture is more important at this point in the game. You will need to put people into money eventually, but I'm less bothered about money. We've got a bit of a bank. I'm less bothered about money as I am about culture. Culture is critical in this game at the start. I don't want to mess around with my infrastructure too much. Yeah, I'm going to move them over. I'm going to move them temporarily over from. Let's see if that stops this decadence spiral we're going into. Growth in 4 turns. We can probably put some more into culture here. One of the benefits of putting people into culture is you also raise your loyalty level, which reduces your revolt risk. So that's good. Okay, we were raided by Mero. Now we have to be careful because there's these guys down here as well. These might actually make war on us. So I'd kind of forgotten to look at these. We should probably start forming an army down here too. Let's see if we can produce any units. Well, we can build some horsemen. Well, they'll be useful, so let's get some horsemen. We should give this guy a general. Even a bad general is better than no general. We've got a real penalty to our generals in this game, unfortunately. I think what I'll do is, yeah, we do need. I don't think we've got palisades being built here. Hopefully these palisades are being built before these guys attack. They probably will attack us. If we look at if we go to diplomacy just quickly, we can actually look at what their objectives are. It will often tell you where so their objectives are Coptis. Is Coptis in our area? Yeah, so they've got Coptos. So they've got an objective here looking Coptos, which means that they're gonna invade this eventually. So we do need to start building some men this way. I think 11 units probably should be okay to deal with these. So instead, I'm going to send this group, which has no general. I'm going to send this group down to reinforce down here, and we can build. If we need any more troops up this direction, we can build some more. Okay. Do we have a general here? No. So we're going to need one. It might actually be better putting the general here, unless. Well, we'll just wait while we're mustering the troops. I'll wait. Okay, so we've looked at that one. Coptus was raided by Meron, but we easily repelled the invaders. That was there again. Okay, the health of our rule has degraded. That is good. I want this guy to die as quickly as possible. He's hated, so we get a manpower and loyalty penalty. He's got an abysmal military, which basically means we don't get as many generals, and they're all really bad. And he's a poor diplomat, so we get 5 extra possibilities per turn to degrade relationships with other nations. This guy's a liability. We want him out. We can only do that by him dying, really, I think, in a monarchy. Egypt is unable to maintain its logistics. Okay, so yeah, we haven't got enough equipment to supply all these troops. That's the problem. However, we need the troops. Okay, so we've been given a new objective, which is here, and that was fair. Oh, we've received a new regional decision. Okay, so every turn you get these regional decisions now. This is new in the DLC. So build harbour. Okay, so this is a regional decision for... Where is this regional decision for? Oh, it's for any of these provinces here. Now we've got the option to build a harbour. We'll add an anchorage if you have nothing, or improve a tier 1 harbour in a region. So this is a new change to the game that makes developing of nations a little bit less based on the random, the random rolling that you get with the building tree, the way the buildings are presented to you. So here we don't have to wait for the anchorages to become available. In the random selection, we can actually build them directly. It does cost money though, and it will also it takes a few turns. But look, I mean, if we spend 100 gold, we can actually build anchorages in any of these provinces. There's one for dispersing slaves. So if we've got too many slaves which are causing penalties to loyalty, we can disperse them more evenly across the regions. There's federate barbarians. So we target a region owned by a tribe which is not hostile to you. Some of their population will join an adjacent region of your realm, and with some luck, some of their warriors will do likewise. Relations with barbarians will also improve, paving the way to a possible alliance or complete absorption. So this has to be with a tribe, and I don't know if there are any tribes civilization level 1 around us. A more indirect approach to dealing with encroaching barbarians is you'll progressively sap their strength. Okay, so are these a tribe? Let's have a look. Edom. Let's go to diplomacy. No, they're a kingdom. So they're a civilization level 2, so it wouldn't work on them. This is going to be good in areas like this. There's lots of tribes in Europe at the moment in this game. So these many of these will just be like level 1. So if we look at these guys, for example, these are a tribal horde. So this would work with them, but we don't have any neighboring borders. But these regional decisions have really added some extra depth to this game. And one of the things I like about Field of Glory originally was despite the fact that it seems very complex, once you learn the rules to it, it plays quite quick, and it's quite, it has a series of fairly in-depth mechanics, but they're quite simple in the way that you interact with them, if you follow me. So, you have to learn the rules, but once you learn them, it's quite easy to see what it is that you're doing and how you have to approach the game. Now, they've added some extra complexity in the game here, but I honestly think this is good because these regional decisions, they just give you some extra options within which to kind of get stuck into the nitty-gritty of empire management. I just think that's really cool. We can liberate regions and motivate troops, so all units in the region with at least 1 experience level will get +1 attack and +1 defense the next turn. So that's great. I mean, I think one of the early complaints that people had about the game was sometimes that, especially with some of these kind of smaller groups, that the enemy seemed to be a little bit strong sometimes, and it looks there's one national decision that you can make where if you're under threat, you can suddenly spawn an army in your city, but it's at the cost of legacy. So you don't really want to do it if you're serious about winning the game. However, in an emergency, it's good because it provides you with an instant army, and that was one thing that they did to counter that. But also, now it looks like there's these kind of buffs that you can apply for a certain. I don't know if does this cost money? This one, where motivate troops. There must be a friendly leader with at least 2 rating, attack and defense. The region must be a land region. Oh, and it doesn't cost money, it costs legacy points. I see. So you can expend some of your legacy points in order to get a temporary boost. That's pretty powerful. 10 legacy points is not a lot, and actually that +1, +1 attack and +1 defense is significant. That's like having a better general. Interesting stuff. Okay, let's just go through these. We've got 2 more new oases, 1 more new oases. We don't need to look at that for the time being. So okay, we're going to carry on. So we need to remember we've got to guard this region and hopefully start expanding out into these ones too, and really at some point we need to make war on Meru. Also, I would like to take this area here and consider war with Babylon. Wow, I've done another 40-minute video. I really get carried away with talking about this game, but yeah, we are moving slightly up because okay. So we've stabilized ourselves in the CDR ranking now, which is important. We want to get back up into the top tier, so we're going to keep those people in culture production. We are increasing our legacy points at return. That is good. I'm going to end the episode here, guys, because I don't want the episodes to be too long. For anybody who's watching this because they're just interested in the Let's Play and they're not, not just to sort of see what's new in the game, the turns will speed up a little bit more over the over the next episode or so, because you kind of see what's going on. We've done all the initial setting up now, so I'll end it there. I hope you're enjoying the series, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you in the next episode. See you later. Bye.